Hi everyone, I'm Marie and we are coming to you live from Living Felt because it's Happy Woolly Wednesday! Happy Woolly Wednesday and happy fall, y'all. I hope you're feeling all pumpkin-y inside because today we are going to jump back into our pumpkin power and work on some really cute gnome pillows. You can make a pillow or you can mount it in a hoop, and we're going to show it to you on another color fabric as well. This is a pickup from our lesson last week, but we'll catch you up if you're just joining in. So say hi and where you're from. You'll see all our friends are chiming in over there in the chat. And when you participate in the live chat, you're entered to win a prize at the end. But if you're watching the replay, that's cool too, because you can comment down below and you are also entered to win a prize. So first, I'm going to say hi to a few folks who are chimed in already. Hi to Kara, hi to Margaret, our early birds for the show. Thanks for showing up and getting everything going with us. Hi to Linda in Tennessee and Andrea all the way in Germany. She says her English isn't so good, but she loves watching, and we appreciate that you're here. Hi to Lynette in Minnesota and Meredith in Colorado. Hey to Felicia in Georgia and Susan in Tennessee. All these southern states have had so much water the last few days, so we're glad y'all are here. Felicia, I said hi to you. Ulla in Sweden. Ira Louise all the way in the UK. I know it's nighttime there, like bedtime for me. Teresa Dudick, Lauren in Maine, and Devin McCarroll, and everyone else. Thank you so much for being here. Y'all just say hi as you're joining the show or watching the replay. We so much appreciate you being here. And I'm going to start off by giving away 2 prizes from people last week who commented after the show. And those go to Tammy Raid and Laura Stidham. Thank you for everyone for your comments on our Hello Pumpkin. So last week we made Hello Pumpkin, and this week we're making Let's Give 'em Pumpkin to Talk About. And with me here are the most amazing fairies in all of Woolly Wonderland, with a bunch of goodies lined up to share with you that you might want for today's project or something similar. So please give a warm welcome to our fairies. The first up is the lovely fairy Anne. Yay!
And this kit is just so much fun. So Trish is helping me out with it. So today, as Marie said, today's project is Let's Give 'em Pumpkin to Talk About. I may not have been singing that song all day today. Perhaps to the wrong tune. I don't know. But so this kit is going to come with the full pattern for making a pillow size. It's also going to come with a written guideline for making the envelope back style pillow, which Marie's going to get into a little bit later. This kit is going to come with all of the fiber needed to make multiple full-size pictures. Trish, is there anything else that we're going to need for this project?
Yes, if you don't already have an iron-on transfer pin, you can upgrade your kit to include one. We also would recommend the 12 by 12 Earth Harmony foam and 42 triangle needles and 40 triangle needles.
Perfect. And this transfer pen is really handy dandy if you're like me and can barely draw a straight line with a ruler. It's pretty great. Next up is Fairy Angela.
Yay! Hi everyone, so I'm sharing the background options that come with today's, that you can that comes with it or you can choose for today's kit. So the standard kit comes with the half yard of graphite linen. The other color options are forest, mulberry, and natural. And the standard kit will come with enough fabric to make one full pillow if you use the linen for the front and the back, as Marie will show you today. Or you can make 2 pillows if you use a different fabric for the backing of the pillows. And there is also an option if you don't want to use the fabric like this linen and you have your own, then you can choose to not get the fabric with the kit. All right, so up next is the lovely fairy Alyssa.
Yay! Hello! So if you're just wanting to needle felt the pumpkins from today, we have a kit for that. It's called Hello Pumpkin. It was featured last week on Woolly Wednesday. And it's perfect for doing anything from greeting cards to magnets. It comes with a couple of different patterns, so the possibilities are endless. Up next, Fairy Kayla.
Hey everybody, Fairy Kayla here. I have lots of goodies to show you today. This is some of our fall decor actually we have around the shop for those of you who haven't been to see us. So I just wanted to share it because we see it every day and I just love it so much. So the goodies that are in here, this is a Loch Ness a silk blend, bamboo top and pumpkin. This is wild vine locks, garnet angelina, saffron sari silk, cocoa silk hankies. This is viscose in prairie, tussa silk in raspberry, and these are olive naps down here. So yeah, they're tons of fun and super fall. And before I get kicked off, I did have a question for everybody. Did you know what the cutest season of the year is?
What is the cutest season of the year?
Autumn.
Oh.
I'll turn it back over to you, Marie.
Thank you. Can I just see a big round of hearts for the fairies? This is our crew. They pack your orders. They make absolutely everything we sell. They answer the phone. They answer your emails. And they always keep us smiling and laughing. So we love them so much. And we love you also. So thank you for being here today. Today's going to be an interesting show. We're going to do our best to do a bit of a recap and catch up everyone who is new from last week and get you to making your own either a pillow or you might want to make just a wall hanging or mount this in a hoop. That's totally an option. So I'm going to let's see, let's just go to a little broader view here. I know you can see everything on my table, but this is our pillow. Now, if you want to make this pillow in felt fabric instead of linen fabric, like the felt that we sell, then choose the kit with no fabric and then buy the felt that you want. Or if you want a different color linen, you can do the same thing. We just kind of had to limit our options with the kit. So this is the graphite. And today we're going to look at how do we build from this lesson that we did last week and turn it into a pillow. This pillow is an envelope pillow, which means that the back, it doesn't require a zipper. You can just slip your pillow inside the cover, and that minimizes the amount of sewing that you need to do if you choose this option. So I'm going to be looking for you over in the chat, looking for your questions. There is a kit, as the gals mentioned. You can also get just the digital download if you want. So if you get the kit, this is what you're going to get, and you can also get the digital download. It will have a quick link back to the tutorial, and it's also going to have the pattern, which you're going to need for today, and it will also outline how to do the envelope pillow instructions. So you're going to want this pattern to do the imagery. So I have mine, and let's look real quick at how to transfer your image. I'm going to do a quick flashback from last week so that you can see how we do our image transfer. And first, here's just a quick look at our pillow there for you. Oh, I realize I've been talking I've been talking down the whole time. Haha, sorry about that. Okay, I hadn't switched the camera somehow. This is a look at the pillow, and I'm sorry about that, gapping that there. This is what we're going to make today. This is the envelope pillow, so you can just slide it in or out. I'll demonstrate for you the steps you need to do that, but make sure that you grab the handout. Now, I brought here with me, this is a project from, I don't know, a year or two ago, so you could see what the natural linen looks like with pumpkins on it. We did washable placemats and a table runner, and I just wanted to show you the natural linen since the gals didn't bring that one in. So first things first, you're going to want to get your image and trace it onto your paper. For those who weren't here last week, I've got like a little 1-minute video here to show you how to do the image transfer. So you get whatever design you're working with. We use this iron-on transfer pen. The design is just on regular paper, like regular office paper, and you can print this out on your inkjet or your LaserJet or use the copy that comes in your kit. You're going to trace over all the lines that are important to you or meaningful to you. And anything that you don't want to trace, well then just skip it. And I'm going to show you that on mine here in a minute. definitely favor towards the inside of the lines rather than on the outside, and then cut out your design for placing onto your fabric. Last week we used 100% wool felt in olive green, and that's what you're seeing now. You use a hot, dry iron with no steam and hold it in place for 20 seconds at each spot. Like, you don't really need to slide it around, just hold it in place and then peel back to check your design. So peel it back. If you're happy with it, there you go. That is your design. Very good. Okay. So what we're going to look at that's different today is the one thing I want to point out to you is where to place your design on your pillow and what to do if your fabrics somehow, sorry, I am botching this up here. What to do if your fabrics are darker than the iron-on transfer pen. We always get asked about the iron-on transfer pen, and the key is really that your iron-on transfer pen should be darker than your fabric, and that isn't always easy to do. Last year we did pillows where the fabric was dark. It was a dark charcoal felt. And we instead traced around cardstock cutouts. This year I want to show you something a little bit different when your fabric is dark, but you might be able to see the pen. So let's look here overhead. Here this is on my gray graphite linen. And if you can see on your screen, and I'll check and see how your view is on that, you can see some of the lines fairly well and some of them not so well. This is going to come down to how much ink you put on that paper. Like, you really want to get the right amount of ink onto your paper. And you're not always going to get it right every time, but there is an opportunity to go back and pick up some of those lines, and that's what I want to show you. However, before I do that, let me show you what it looks like on the color that I'm going to be working with today. And this is the mulberry, we're calling that one. So it shows up pretty well. And on this one, I want to point out how we traced the stem. See how it's just a single loop and we didn't go around the outside? I would encourage that you consider when you go over your design doing that, so that way you can lay your wool down on top of this and have a thin line if you want versus a very thick line. And you'll notice here that I skipped it on my little pumpkin because on the drawing it's very stout and it's going outwards, but I wanted the option to have a smaller stem if I wanted, and to point it a different way if I wanted. So you can either skip it on the tracing, or you can, if you trace something you don't want, you could just cut it out of the paper and just not trace over that. So consider that the tracing part when you get to it. Only trace over the things that you want. Now, I did see a question come through and I want to answer it. Should you wash the linen first? So if you want to launder this, this would be a hand wash only pretty much, or a very delicate wash with no centrifuge in your washing machine, then it would help to wash your linen first so that it's shrunk up already. Yes. Okay, so let's look at the image transfer, and then I'll talk about cutting your fabrics and how to get yourself set up for the pillow, because everyone's probably going to choose something a little bit different. But let's look at how to deal with it when your image is not quite as strong as you want. I brought a couple of tools with me today, some things that you might consider working with as little helpers. So the first will be, quite honestly, just your transfer pen already. Your iron-on transfer pen put these black lines down and is going to show up on this color fabric. It'll show up best. So if I have weak lines, I can go right over the top of them right now and put this down. You could use another marker if you want, but you might consider whatever is underneath so that it doesn't bleed through. So you might put a piece of paper underneath if you're choosing to use a strong pen or like a Sharpie marker or something like that. Mostly stay inside those lines. And I'm hoping you all can see this. People on phones may not be able to see it quite so well. So I'll zoom in a little bit. You can see how strongly that pen starts to show up here on the graphite. And again, I'm not going to be working on the graphite today, so it won't be a struggle the whole time. But I want to show you that this pen will lay nicely on top of this fabric more strongly than when we just do the iron-on transfer. But this isn't your only option if you want to make the lines pop a little more. You can try something like these jelly roll pens. I get them in white, and you can trace right over the lines that you already have and put them right on to this fabric, and they'll show pretty nicely. So this is an example of the jelly roll, G-E-L-L-Y roll pen, and this is the white one. So it's a very thin line, and it's not like a paint pen, so you'll be able to needle felt through it no problem. Jelly roll pen is an option. Something else you might like would be tailor's chalk, and this would work. These options work on felt as well, by the way, so I should show you. The black ink is very difficult on something like this very strong dark Bordeaux felt, but the white will pop. And then right here we have a tailor's chalk. So you can get this at your sewing shop, and it's going to feel a little less accurate, but it's also going to be a little less obtrusive than something like the jelly roll pen. And you can just trace over whatever lines you want to stick up a little bit more and be a little bit easier to see. It's more likely to brush off, however. So like I was recently working on these and I was flying on a plane. I had used graphite pencil, and it tended to rub off. So the tailor's chalk will rub off too, so that you might find that a benefit and you might find that a little more of a challenge. Depending on your fabric, you could also choose a pen, ink pen. Ink pen will show up better on the mulberry than on this graphite. I've used it. Now, one other thing I came across, and I want to tell you about it and caution you about it, and that I found this at my sewing shop this week. It's a wax pencil, actually, and my grandfather used to write with wax pencils when I was a kid, but this, they call it a cut-free invisible pencil, which basically you peel the string back and you pull back this paper and expose this little wax bit. Now, this will show up on here pretty nicely if you want to trace over, if you want to sketch a design onto your fabric. It's going to show up pretty well. Now, they call it an invisible pencil, but when I picked it up, it was sitting in a jar that said iron away pencil for marking your quilt fabric. And the thing I want to warn you about is that if you iron this on to get it off your fabric, if you iron the fabric to get it off, it will leave a wax mark. So it's going to make your fabric look darker than when you left it. So if you use something like this, like a wax pencil product, make sure you stay inside the lines of your drawing rather than outside, so that later when you iron it to smooth everything out, you don't have wax bleed out. So it won't disappear. It's not invisible because it's meant to iron away, and it does rub, but it can be rubbed off a little bit. So I'll show you. Here's where we have our lines. You can rub it away if you put it somewhere that you don't want it, but there is a risk that there's going to be some wax residue left and it's still going to be sitting on your fabric. So consider that before using that wax pencil. Your goal really is just to get a nice, good look at your design, right? You want to be able to see it. Okay, I'm going to look for your questions. The next thing I'm going to show you is the two. I didn't pick a color for the dark green linen, but I do have a couple of colors of thread here to show you. I just chose this Metler, it's 100% polyester thread. I just go to my quilting shop. I love shopping local with my quilt shop and getting what they have. And for the graphite, I chose color number 416. And again, it's Metler. And then for the burgundy one, I chose color number, I thought it was I forgot already, 108. 108. So just find like a matching thread. If you're going to make a pillow, choose a matching thread. And if you're going to be mounting in a hoop, I'll show you this. This is a 12-inch hoop project. So it'll fit really nicely, I think, into a 12-inch hoop. And if it's pushing your borders a little too much maybe, then you might want to reduce the image before you actually mount it, because it really is going to pull through there a little bit. So this is the mulberry. The last thing I want to tell you for the image transfer is to consider this with your fabric. So the kit comes with a half yard, which is going to be 18 inches wide by 59 inches long. You're going to get enough fabric to make this envelope pillow and have the backing fabric and have enough for another pillow face or one to mount at least. If you change the measurements, you could get probably 2 pillows, but here's the deal. Because you're going to be putting wool onto this fabric, you should expect some of it to shrink in a little bit. We are encouraging that the finished square of the design is 14 inches square. So if you are not a gambling person, you might want to start with a 15-inch square or 14.5-inch square, so that after you put your design on, you can then trim it to a nice, cool, clean 14 inches. That's up to you. We are going for a 14-inch pillow, and we're going to be using a 14-inch pillow insert. That's going to give us this super stuffed look versus a baggy, saggy look. If you prefer yours looking a little less poofy and full, then you can adjust the measurements accordingly. But accordingly, I made a 14-inch pillow with a 14-inch pillow insert, and we're going to, after we put our design on, we're going to have a 14-inch square. So we're going to start with this plate right here. And for those who missed last week, I'm going to roll just a little bit of film to show you how we needle felt, how we do the painterly pumpkin design. There's really no difference between these pumpkins and these pumpkins that we made together last week in the way I did them. We're going to start with a couple of blends. We're going to outline the inner divisions with a dark gray, and then, at least the way I did them, I sort of focused the dark concentrations of color at the bottom and towards the insides, and then went with my orange and orange cream on the outside. So for this kit that we're giving you today, you get a lot more wool and you get a lot more colors. You're going to get all of these colors in this kit, 10 colors, and you get a lot more wool than was in the Hello Pumpkin kit. So you're going to be able to make a number of these. The only thing you might end up adding is orange, but I kind of have a feeling you won't run out. So to catch everyone up, let's look at how we make these pumpkins. And we're going to start by looking at what we did last week. And I'm starting with 2 blends, mandarin orange and clay. And I'm going to make up a few blends just so that I have them ready. And this is my style for just making these pumpkins look, 1, a little painterly, and 2, a little ruddy, if you will, just kind of a little dirty. I don't know. I like them looking a little rustic, I think. And then I'm blending the orange with the dark chocolate. And this is the hot orange with the, both of these I blended hot orange and clay, and hot orange and dark chocolate. So start by tracing the inner divisions with the dark gray. Marilyn Giselle, I'll try and answer that question. Okay, Marilyn asked about stuffing the pillow, so I'm going to do my best to remember that. Notice how we're just drafting out the wool to outline the inner divisions, but we're not going to do it on the outermost portion of the pumpkins where it's going to feel like the light is hitting it a little bit more. And for those of you who are watching and already saw this tutorial, this part is going to be very brief. We have a total of 4 minutes to show people how to paint these pumpkins. So after doing that layer, the darkest layer next to the dark gray, then I do the medium layer. So that's the clay and the orange. And then I'm gonna blend just mandarin orange, which is a solid orange. For those who love orange, later this year, we didn't make it in time for fall, but I have new oranges coming. I'm very excited. Okay, so for the highlight here, I'm just using orange cream. Anywhere where you want it to be even brighter, you can add a little bit of cotton white to make that a little more bright. We're going to fill in this, the coloring of the pumpkin 100%. You don't want to see any of the the background coming through. That should be invisible. So make sure that you cover it 100%. And it's okay if it takes a couple of layers to do that. So do it once with a draft, and then you'll notice that I go back over and over and layer until I'm really happy so that I cover up any hard lines. Just get the blending just right and have fun. Remember, this is not a rush at all. So with these first two lobes of the pumpkin, you'll see that I started painting at the groove, needle felting at the groove, and then layering towards the outside with the highlights. And I'm using a 40 triangle and then also a 42 triangle. That is my preference. You can use whatever you like. The reason I like to use needles that are not overly aggressive myself, like a 38 star or a 36, and some people love it, so sometimes we suggest it. But I like to make sure that I'm not binding the fiber with my foam underneath. And by using finer needles and taking a more gradual approach, it allows me to not pick up my piece off my foam and also not worry that I'm damaging my foam. This last lobe that I'm going to show you here, the middle lobe, you'll see that I sort of layer all the fibers before needle felting anything. And I wanted to show you both of these approaches and that both of them work, especially if you're working in rather thin layers like this. So here I'm just creating all of that shading and highlight and layering without needle felting yet. And it's another thing that I really like to do is just kind of layer and patch together and then needle felt it down. Very easy to do. Both work really, really well. Okay, so you're going to needle felt all of this nice and flat. Make sure that you get it all nice and smooth and take your time. Obviously, in these videos, we're moving very quickly, and there is a lot more to needle felt than we show here on the videos. So go back over with your 42 triangle, get it all really nice and smooth so that you're happy with it. I want to show you one last thing before we jump to pumpkins on mulberry and start needle felting our gnome, and that is to consider placement on your fabric, especially if you're doing the pillow. So just a few things to think about before we start needle felting on here. Okay, I have my picture placed here on my mulberry fabric, and this one is cut to a 14 by 14 because I want you to be able to see how that all looks. And I wanted him to not sit on the bottom of the pillow, and I didn't want this necessarily perfectly centered. So it favors the bottom just a bit. So here I have 4 fingers wide here and about a hand wide here. And then on the sides, you have to decide how it feels, where you want those. But I kind of have the large pumpkin centered. So think about that. If you want to give yourself a little wiggle room, cut this to 15 inches, let the fiber shrink up the fabric a little bit, and then once it's all done, iron it smooth and then trim it back to a cool 14 inches. But I just wanted to show you that placement. You might consider, rather than centering this right on the middle because it feels like the pumpkins are on the ground, to lower it even just a ½ inch or an inch towards the bottom. And I think it looks a little more right on the pillow overall, rather than this whole design being shifted up and the stems way up here. So Yeah, let's switch to pumpkins on mulberry and get y'all to where I am, which is right here. So that's the only difference right here is I've needle felted these same pumpkins onto the mulberry fabric. I have mine centered. This is about 3 fingers. This one is the 14-inch, so it's like 3 inches here and 3 inches here. I didn't give myself any more room, and that's why it looks a little off to the side. This is really solid felted in. I haven't smoothed it all down with my 42 triangle, but you can use a single 42 triangle, or you can use a cluster at this point and just lightly shallow tack and smooth everything down. Now I'm gonna start working on the gnome. I chose green for his hat and just plain cotton white for his beard. I didn't want, I chose not to do locks. I didn't want locks on this guy. So for his hat, I do like to trace these lines with the gray and highlight with the white and fill in with the green. So I'm gonna start on that and watch for your questions at the same time as they come up. Okay. Great. Y'all are trying to decide what color of linens to use. Now this is the gray. This is the gray, and I'm just going to peel this out here, and I'm going to trace over these lines. So I just like to draft it. I might use my little more aggressive needle for this one. And I'm gonna go ahead and just trace around all these lines. So anchor, let's see, y'all might wanna be a little bit closer probably. Okay, hopefully if that's nauseatingly close, y'all tell me and we'll back it off. So I like to just anchor part down, and his hat has like a double little brim thing happening. So I'm just going to trace this around, and this will show me kind of how to guide my fiber as I lay it down. So I know some of y'all last week already did the Hello Pumpkin, and lots of you got the Hello Pumpkin kit. Lots of Pumpkin to Talk About kits have been going out today too. And if you feel like it's duplication, remember you can always just get the pattern and add whatever colors you want. You can add colors of fiber and colors of fabric if you want to make pillows. And if you're going to be making pillows, I really love to know. I can't wait to see them. When we did our Christmas gnome pillows last year, it was so fun to see all of the gnome pillows appear because there was a ton of them. Was it last year or the year before? Anyway, so many. And those kits continue to go out all year long. So I know people are making gnome pillows. And it's such a fun way to add a little bit of festivity to your living room or your guest room or wherever, your studio. Now look, when you get to an end like this, you can tear it off and you can cut it off. But if you tear it off, just put your finger there and tear it away, and then you can kind of twirl and bury the rest. I should have had this all traced out for y'all. Yes, Karen says, are you actually outlining the hat? I'm going to, but in this case, you can do the outside lines later. But what I like are these little swoop-de-doos, and I don't want to add them in later. So this is like, we do a soft serve hat, right? We call it our soft serve ice cream hat when we make our 3D gnomes. And I wanted to do kind of the same thing in 2D. So we have these little swoops going in, and if you put them in first, then you'll see them. You can go back and add them, but if you do them now, then what's going to happen is you'll guide your wool around and your highlights around to kind of emulate that. So I'll do my best to be very timely so that y'all don't fall asleep on me while I outline this hat. I know that can feel probably painstakingly slow. I am using the 42 triangle. Let's see, Kathy says, oh, y'all are asking about drawings. Yep, you can use any drawing you want, any design you want for your projects. You just print out your design onto regular paper. Remember, if it has words or whatever, that is going to be in reverse. and I trace over it with your iron-on transfer pen. Yep. So Amy says her kitchen and living room colors are cranberry and forest green. How fun. Okay. All right. I know this is slow. I like the look of it with an outline, and you don't have to. You could go back and add it after, but I do like how it looks when it's outlined. Okay. Will you tell us how to finish the pillows on the backside? Tammy, I will. I'm going to squeak it in. And so to tell y'all, while I continue outlining this hat, here's what I'm going to tell you. We've been filming the little snippets of this, although we're planning to deliver it to you live, obviously. We've been filming the little snippets, and we filmed creating the back panels, and then I wanted to finish this pillow so I could finish filming that part for you. And what we'll do is, our goal is to make a condensed version of the tutorial so you can just go back and reference those sections. So the pumpkins, of course, will be from the Hello Pumpkin last week, just to show you basically how to do your painterly pumpkins. But we'll nab video from our Gnome today, and then also how to do the back panels. An envelope pillow is really easy, and you do have some flexibility. So once you learn how to do it, then you can just adapt that to whatever size pillows you want to make. Okay, I'm making a mess up here, but we'll fill it in and go back over it. Okay, almost done with our outlining. What size pillow insert? If you want to, SSK Yarner's Knitting Podcast asked what kind of pillow insert. For this project, we chose a 14-inch square. However, this design would fit also on like let's say a 12 by 18 pillow, or something that's a little standard. You could make it wider rather than square. You absolutely could. You could make it bigger if you want, but the fabric in this kit is the half yard is 18 inches wide. So if you're making a pillow, you'd want to treat that as the limiting factor, or you could choose it with no fabric and choose your own fabric length from our linen or felt or whatever you want. We did a Home for the Holidays pillow last year with wool felt, and I think it was a rectangular one. So this design would also work well on a rectangular pillow. And you know, honestly, you could also repeat pumpkins if you want in your design. You could absolutely repeat pumpkins. Okay, so I've lost my little upsy part here, and I'm just going to tack that down. All right, so for the green, and here's my little hat. So quick peek. Here's my little hat. Oh, I think this one I actually traced in dark chocolate, but that's on the gray pillow, so that makes sense. So notice we're going to fill this in here and then go back over it with a little bit of our white. So now that we have our tracing, I'm just going to pull off a long length. This is our true olive green. Okay, Terry Burr says this is her first 2D needle felt attempt. Yep. Here we go. Okay, so I'm just going to start with this. All of you can just start with it right at the top, and now that it's outlined, we at least have a starter there. And this is what's really nice. So I'm using our MC1 batting. This is what comes in the kit. If you have a sliver or a roving or a different kind of fiber, it's going to behave a little bit differently. If you don't have a batting, you might want to mix it up a little bit so that it's a little easier to work with and manipulate and sort of create your own little mat of a bat. But our MC1 batting is great for 2D or 3D needle felting. It wet felts really, really well. And yeah, so it's just real dreamy to work with like this because you can just kind of fill in the lines. I am going to needle felt this flat for those of you who are seeing me leaving it sticking up. Really what we want to do is just kind of get it in place. It's like when you're icing the top of a cake, right? You don't get it 100% smooth and in place the minute you put it down, but you kind of get it where you want it to go. And then we'll go back over and flatten it all out and add our white wispy bits. Okay. Okay, so you're asking about the stuffing of my pillow. Let's see who's asking about this. Who's asking about the pillow? I want to answer you. Hold on, I want to see this. It just went away. So someone is asking how we got the corner of our pillow so sharp, and I would say yes, I'm just using a pre-stuffed pillow form, and the only other thing is that I made the pillowcase the same size as the form. No, I cut my fabric the same size as the form. So since there is a 1/2 inch margin, the pillowcase is actually smaller than the pillow form measures, and that allows it to be stuffed really, really full. So if your finished design, if your pillow insert is 14 inches, then you cut your design piece to 14 inches square before you sew it, and it's going to be stuffed really full as opposed to stuffed kind of baggy, which I've done before. That's the only reason, for the change. I've done it before where it feels kind of baggy, and that's the difference. Marcia Hamill says she's still getting used to the different wools and how they work differently. Yes, MC1 is kind of a unique product, and we have it in over 90 colors, by the way, but we're working on some new colors this fall holiday. They're not necessarily holiday colors, as I mentioned just a few moments ago. Working on some more hot tones, which I'm really excited about, and some more blues. So we're excited to bring some new colors in MC1. By far, the product that you all seem to want from us most. Okay, thank you. Sally says she likes the shading on the pumpkin. That's so nice. And y'all are mentioning you didn't want to have to hand stuff a pillow. I get it. Buying pre-made pillow forms is really great. I usually actually just get them in a pack. Of course, you can probably get them at your sewing shop or Joann's if that's your fabric shop. You can also get them on Amazon, and they work out really well. Okay, so we're filling in our little hat here, and I kind of can already see that we're going to run over today. I guess it just takes time to make a pillow, doesn't it? It takes time to color with wool or to color with anything. None of it really goes all that fast. It's not necessarily a quick process. So Tammy says, is linen the best fabric, or could you use cotton, or could you use wool? So yes, again, wool felt. You can use cotton. You expect more puckering with something like a more tightly woven cotton. The thing with linen is it generally, you can choose the weave, and this is a medium, and it's going to have a little more room for the weave to scoot and allow the fibers to pass through. Of course, you could even use denim or burlap or whatever, but just check the density when you choose these fabrics for what you want to do, and especially the more tightly woven it is when you're needle felting, give yourself room for the fabric to pucker, because if it's really tight, it's going to want to pucker, and you might want to test that depending on how dense you're putting your material down, and you might need leave a little more room in the perimeter as well if it tends to pucker on you. Okay, so my hat is really, really rough, quite honestly, which you expect since we're just kind of banging it out right here. But what you can do is get it all nice and tacked down. You can go back over it and add in your accents. I'm gonna fill in this last little part of the brim, and we're gonna add some white highlights, knowing that the whole thing needs to be smoothed out. And by smoothed, I mean flattened. Remember that even if you iron something like this to finish it, ironing is not felting. It may steam press it down for the moment, but then the minute it dries out and people start handling it, it's going to rough up again. Okay. Would lightweight flannel work? Sally, yes, I didn't bring it in. It's in my office, but last week I shared a little piece of lightweight flannel that I needle felted my pumpkins on. I liked the design. Somebody else asked about a felt pillow and said something about would it be bulky? Yes, we've made 100% felt pillows. We have them here. We've also done them with fabric back panels, and that is really great fun because you can choose a, if you choose felt for the face, you can choose a thematic backing, like our Christmas ones, we had just a really cute Christmas theme fabric on the back. Now, wherever we had our lines, wherever you want, you can go back and just add those again if you want to see them, or you could wait until you put some of your white on top. And for the white, I don't know why we gave you so much white, but we did. For the white, I like to just kind of ghost it. That's my new phrase for talking about when we're just putting a very light layer on. I like to just kind of ghost it on top so that it seems to suggest movement. It kind of suggests highlights. And notice that we're doing it where we think the wool is, his little hat is kind of catching light. So notice we go this way here, we'll go this way here, and here, and it's just going to add a little bit of that feeling of that little ice cream cap. And you can make yours any way you like, and then go back in and add the dark bits too. But adding that tiny bit of highlight, and of course when I get to these little fine refinements, I'm going to use my 42 triangle because I don't want to plunge it so that it starts to get straight lines in it. I want it to kind of stay where I put it. Now, veterans know, watching me, that this is still very much in draft mode and the whole thing needs to be filled in, flattened, fussed over, and a bunch of detail put down, meaning go back in wherever you want it, wherever you want, just a little more shading. You can just darken those little spots, and it's gonna add character to your hat. You might wanna darken this little part right here rather than fill it in with green, fill it in with gray so that it looks really cute and starts to get a little bit of character, almost like a coloring or a painting or pencil, like chalk, pastel, whatever. So there you go. That's the draft version of his hat. For his nose and his skin tone, last time we gave you latte, this time we chose suntan. We just like to break it up a little bit. So I'm just gonna plunker him down a nose. Now, you can make yours bulbous if you want. You can make it stick up and have density by making a little bead. I don't want to do that. I want to press mine. So I'm just going to fill it in just enough to make it round. I don't want mine to have dimension. For the beard, you could choose locks, but I didn't want mine to have that dimension. I really wanted this to be a very flat pillow. Okay. Okay, so Felicia Aaron says, so the trick to not have a straight line is not to continue to felt it. Felicia, no, is not to felt it so that it stretches taut. So if you stretch the line and then you use a very aggressive needle, it's going to use a lot of force to push it down, and is more likely going to take that soft layer that you put on there and stretch it. So instead, use a fine needle, tack it down just on the surface, whereas an aggressive needle is going to plunge it too far and stretch it straight. So you want to felt it, 100% so that you can rub your hand across it and nothing moves. This one is not quite there yet. You want to felt it all the way. Please, please felt it all the way. Okay, I'm going to fill in his hand just so I don't lose it over here. And just go with your outline, just fill in your outline, or go outside your outline and change it a little bit. Our guy is holding an acorn. Your guy can hold whatever you want, or gal. Make a gnome girl or a gnome gal. They can hold whatever you want, but just kind of stay inside the lines. And let's fill in that beard, and then we'll okay. Oh, so someone said that this is very similar. Donna said it's very similar to coloring with pencils or alcohol markers. Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with alcohol markers, but before I came to felting, I lived in colored pencil. And I wasn't very good, but I had a lot of fun with it. That's for sure. I wasn't very good, but I had a lot of fun. Okay, so I have the idea of a hand in there. I'm gonna fill in this beard. And for me, I really just wanted a great big white beard. I want it to be pretty flat, and we could add dimension with gray. So what's fun about this is you can do it any way you want. There are just no rules here. So I am just going to fill all this in, unlike I did with the hat. I'm going to just fill it in, and we'll let it be jagged down here. I don't really worry about these lines that we have from the drawing. I just know that I want to kind of go past them, and to get these straight lines, you can poke this to a point here and then fold this back up, and just have fun with that however you want to peek out the bottom of your beard and layer. I know some of you are going to be dropping locks on there. I will not be surprised to see that. Okay. Dara, thank you so much. She says she likes the pumpkins. Thank you so much. And I say have fun, like over here with the beard part. So what you might do is take your wool and just peek it a little bit like that. And then let's give him some character. And we can do that wherever we want it to have character. So just kind of peek it out right here and bring it back in towards the face. And then you can just tack those down. You can always go back in and fill them in more, but doing that is just going to give you a guide of where you want it to go. And the same peaking idea can also be used in layers on top if you want, especially if you want it to have more dimension, if you want it to stick up more and have a little more of a relief, you can continue layering and adding these types of things on. Now, whatever you do, just don't underfelt these bits. You're going to have to come back over so that they're not rough and loose. You want them to be really solid and firmly felted to your base fabric. That's key. Okay, now the arm here is questionable. We actually lost our outline. I better put him in there. We lost our outline on this tracing, and hey, that happens. So kind of go with the flow and don't worry about it. And by all means, do not try and put your image back down. Don't try and put your image back down. If you didn't get that line, well, just surrender to it and go with the flow. So I'm going to fill in by adding my sleeve just to the outside of the hand before I want to do this before I get the rest of my beard in, and wrap it around the top of the hand just back here to where it's going to flow kind of underneath his beard. We just need to know that he has a hand holding on to this acorn. I meant to trace that with y'all before we got too far, but c'est la vie. This is Gnome Land. Lots of things can happen in Gnome Land. There we go. He has a hand. He holds an acorn. Now let's continue getting our beard in here, and I think I will drop one more in here and fill in up to his nose. Bring this in, and we're going to outline our acorn right after this. So the beard is up to you, how textured and bushy you want it to be. Don't worry about covering up anything you've already done, because you can always go back and re-outline, retrace. Use your first pass of putting wool on like a draft, if you will, knowing that you can, with this batting, you can always go back and cover things up and refill in wherever you want. Like the nose here, we'll just go back and refill in that nose when we're all done. Okay, what about using sari silk waste on the hat? Does it felt firmly to the base fabric? Sari silk waste by its nature does not felt, so please keep that in mind. A couple of weeks back, we used sari silk waste for our little bee girl's hair, and that was just like really, it's not felted. We just kind of anchored it to the wool underneath, and anyone could pull it apart. So just experiment with your materials, because something like a pillow gets handled. You're going to have two different people sit on the couch where you have your pillow. One person sees it and picks it up and appreciates it and paws it, and the other person does not see it. They don't appreciate it. They're just not on their radar, and they're just going to lean against it, put their feet on it, do whatever. They're not going to see it as this beautiful thing that you spent hours making. So whatever you do, make it somewhat durable or out of the hands, out of reach of people who aren't going to treat it with love. And so when I say that in response to the sari silk waste, because that is not going to lay down for you like wool will, and it's not going to stay in place like wool will. So, okay if it's up on a shelf. So Colleen asks, would it help to wet felt it at the end? Colleen, you could, but when I make things like this, I would rather personally needle felt this 100% than go back and wet felt it. But for those of you who want to wet felt it when you're done, let me just give you a couple of tips. The first thing is you still really should needle felt it flat. Don't skip needle felting it 100% on something like this linen, and plan to finish the felting with wet felting. I would encourage you instead that if you're going to wet felt it, let it be because you really feel like you want to further, lock the fibers in. But I will tell you, if you can do this and you don't see my design, hear it? Roughing up, you're doing a good job. So don't worry about it too much. If you get this little peeling here, well then you can go back and needle felt it more. You could also, spray starch it if you want. I'm not a big starch user. But if you want to wet felt it, what I would do is get your soapy water and put your hand inside a sandwich baggie. So wet this, soap this, and then just rub the design. But make sure that you rinse all that soap out because you don't want a soap line left. So you'll have to rinse the whole thing and then let it dry. So you definitely can, I'm gonna do his pants leg down here, you definitely can wet felt it after, but I really often don't. I'm just gonna put in a little bulb down here for his pant leg so that I can get my beard over it, and then we'll fill in the shoe. And I see we're running over, y'all, so I thank you for your patience. It took a little longer than I thought to go over the things I wanted to cover with you, but I will make a very concerted effort to condense this week's video, this week's live, and last week's live, and our little sewing tips into something that's becomes a good reference tool for those who need it, and for those who don't really have the patience to watch this whole thing. I get it. Okay. Rough little leg in there. Let's finish out our beard. And again, the beard needs more filling in, but again, we're just kind of making some little peaks with our wool. I'm going to put another one like right here. I don't need that part to be too thick because I have a lot of wool there already. And then I'm going to fill this in underneath and kind of I just kind of want it to come around. I'm gonna fill white underneath here. Okay, looking for your comments. Jennifer says she doesn't mind the runovers. Thank you so much. If it goes more than an hour, sometimes I feel bad. I know some of y'all got to sign off and get on with the rest of your life, which might include kids and dinner or bedtime. I appreciate that. And as always, I just appreciate you being here, helping to make my Wednesdays more jolly, more happy. And to my sweet husband, who usually is tuning in, making sure I'm not falling over and off camera or whatever. Okay, let me push him up a little bit. We're getting close. Fill in the beard where you want. As I said, you have way more wool in this kit than it will take to make a pillow. So have fun with that. I'm confident that you could make several of these panels, like several, with the wool that comes in the kit. Maybe next year we'll downsize the kit, but for this year, it's first year, it's so far it's a pretty beefy kit. Fill in your beard everywhere that you want to, like here where mine feels a little thin. I'll probably put in some more peaks, but I want to get in my acorn first. We've given you a couple of browns, so for this part of the acorn, I think I'm going to use a little clay and a little orange cream, and I'm going to fill in this part of the acorn with that. You can always add more color if you want, but this is going to be my acorn color. Just blending, just stack and pull, stack and pull, stack and pull. Plop it down there. You don't have to get it right, and then you'll just be able to coax it everywhere you want. I do think that the top of the acorn looks really cute with an outline, and I see here that I probably wished I'd filled in my pant leg a little more. Again, we missed ours a little bit on the tracing, but you can definitely drop some color in there and fill it in if that speaks to you. And I'll fill in his hand too. Okay. So I'm missing some of your comments. One day I'll have a needle felting foam with a camera built in. So I have my phone built in, a little place for my phone so I can see what you're writing, what you're saying. Okay. The only thing that would make this better is if we were all sitting around the table together, so I'm going to just pretend that you're all here with me, and that's exactly what we're doing. All right, for here, I'm going to fill this in with espresso brown, just the top of the acorn with espresso, and then we'll just trim the whole thing with our dark chocolate and give it a nice little outline top and bottom. Thank y'all so much. Thank you for being here. Thanks for your nice comments. I've missed something that Jamie is asking. I'm missing what Jamie is asking. I don't know what that question is. Sometimes I don't see for a few rounds. You're asking how tight or the weight, and I don't know what you're asking. So everything that I'm needle felting now, however, this is very much in draft mode, and you're going to want to go back and get it all nice and flat, dense and flat. So look, let's trim with a little bit of dark chocolate. It's going to make a difference if you just take these little parts, take a tiny little wisp, and just guide this around as you go. You can give them a little peak, you can give them some little lines in here, and it's going to make it stand out a little bit better. And then we can also, we just want to give it a little more character and a little more dimension. I think the dark lines can really help with that. And then we'll wrap around underneath and make it look like it's got a little bit of depth right there. We don't have to stop there, okay? We can add a little bit just maybe just to the very top and make that a little bit dark. And you can bring your white back if you want, just a smidge, or you can also use your skin tone if you want, but you can give it just a little bit of highlight there, like just put a little dab of white on there. It doesn't have to be too much. And if it is too bright, well, then you can always go back and sometimes put a little something like this over top. This is just the sand, the suntan skin tone. Just give this acorn a little bit of dimension, and you want that line to have an arch to it, just like this bottom line. You don't want it to go straight across. Give it a little bit of an arch and bring in a little more of your dark, but let it be like that ghost layer, just a little bit of a ghost layer on there so that you can see the other brown underneath. So add as much character to that little piece as you want. You can fill in the leg. I'm going to give him a brown shoe. And the one thing I'm going to suggest with this piece, so go back over the whole thing until you absolutely love it, but I want to show you what I did on this gray pillow. So not finished, right? Not finished, but notice here that we put like a real dark line underneath, and under this guy, we kind of did the same thing. So here, I just added a little bit of a dark line underneath to make it feel like it's sitting on the ground. And so you have black in this kit, and you also have this gray. So you might use the black or a black gray blend. It looks like the gray we put in this kit is a little lighter than the Hello Pumpkin. The Hello Pumpkin had River Rock, and this one looks like it has Slate. So I would blend the two just to get it a little bit darker. And hey, same with the hat. Anywhere you want the hat or anywhere you want shading, rather than go 100% black, then you could blend these two so that it's not too stark, and give yourself just a little more shadow anywhere where you want it to be, just a little more dark. And that's going to make everything above it pop out just a little bit more. So let me do that there. I would also do it underneath his shoe here, needle felt it down, and as you see, we have it here underneath the pumpkins. Okay. Okay, good. You guys like the dark line? Very good. Yes, a little bit of grounding, and you can shade whatever you want under here, and you could certainly do it first and then bring the beard back over the top. That works also. So have fun with that. That was something I sort of figured out after I was felting, but not when I created the drawing. So that's just something to think about. I'm going to put a tiny one over his nose, and actually I can't wait to go home and finish this whole little thing tonight and finish doing him. So that is a look at our little pumpkin guy. He needs finishing up, he needs cleaning up, but let me explain to you how we're going to do the envelope pillow. So finish your piece, needle felt it 100%, and then what you're going to do is peel it off of your foam. You shouldn't have any foam destruction, especially if you use the finer needles like I did. And then you're going to want to steam press it and trim it to the size you need for your pillow panel. So we will finish this one up, and I promise I will film that and add it to the condensed version. If you get our pattern, you're going to get all of this information, the pattern or the kit, you're going to get all of this information included inside it. But to do the envelope pillow back so that you can stuff yours and make it like mine, which is really, really full, you'll need a 14-inch pillow insert. You're going to want to make your face pillow to also 14 inches cut once it's all done. And then we're going to make two panels for the back. And here's what they look like. So they are the same width as the fabric, which is 14 inches. And then they're 14 inches wide, the same width as your face panel fabric. And then these ones I made 11 inches. My first ones I made 10, which I think you could get 2 pillows out of the half yard if you do it, but it's stretched a little bit. So these are 11 inches, and then what we do is we fold in a 1/2 inch and a 1/2 inch, and I like to stitch a line here and stitch a line here. So you'll make 2 of these, 14 inches by 11 inches tall, 14 inches wide by 11 inches tall, fold in a 1/2 inch, press, clip, fold in a 1/2 inch, press, clip, and then stitch. Again, I like to stitch 2 lines. So then, let me grab where's my pretend piece. Let's pretend this is my pillow face. This is my pillow face, and this is my gnome face. So I'll put here, this is my gnome. Pretend my gnome design is here. So you're going to put your pillow face design up. Let me go a little wider. Face up. And then these are the pillow panels. So I like to put the top one on first, and you're going to have the beautiful hem side face down. So right sides together. Oh, I think this one's the right size. Hold on. Oh, I was ready. Here we go. Gnome design up. Gnome design up. Top panel. Oh, no, I wasn't. Top panel on top first, and then bottom panel on top next. So you're going to hem those first, and then you're going to hem around these sides. So this one is wider because I made it wider before my design. You want to trim that down. So top panel on first, they overlap. This is a very generous overlap. You could go less. You could make these 10 inches like I did, but what happened, because I stuffed mine so full, it's a little shallow. You could put a button here if you want, but I think 1 more inch is going to give you that overlap without it feeling a little bit stretched. So these ones I cut to 10, these ones I cut to 11, and that will give plenty of room for a very generous overlap once you stuff that pillow. Okay, so I'm gonna see what questions you have and promise to do my best to finish this. Now, you don't have to make a pillow out of this. You can choose to put this in a hoop. We looked at this briefly. You could put this in a hoop, or you could mount it to something else, you could put it in a frame. Maybe you have like a little seasonal frame. We made something like that a while ago. So whatever you do, have fun with it. I hope that you'll share this with us and let us see what you come up with. So, and let us know your questions. I hope you'll post your questions down below. Now I'm looking for Fairy Ann. Here she is with magical prizes. So Ann, as promised, has been writing down names of everyone who's been participating in the live chat, and lots of fun, lots of good comments today, huh?
Lots. Y'all kept me laughing. So thanks.
I can't wait. So what I do on Wednesday nights is I go back and read everything that you all wrote. I do. And then on Thursdays I try and read all the comments that are after the live show. So I can't wait to see yours. And tonight I'm going to go home and finish mine, and we'll finish up another pumpkin to talk about. Okay, Ann, so what are we giving away today?
Today we are giving away a pumpkin to talk about, kids.
We're giving away 2.
We're giving away 2.
Okay, 2. We're going to draw 2 names out of the magic pumpkin right now.
Alrighty.
This pumpkin's pretty old,
It's that pumpkin.
It precedes you, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah.
And Ann's been around a long time. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, who you got?
I have got Jackie Burns.
Woo! And I have Jane Miller. So congratulations, gals, and thank you, everyone. Hey, if we drew your name and you're not already a customer, ever bought anything from us, jump over to our website. Go down to the Contact Us page and check us out there. If we didn't draw your name, don't worry. Leave a comment down below. Let us know your favorite takeaway, or maybe even another project you would like to see this year, and you are also entered to win a prize. Make sure you tag us on line and let us see what you made so we can share it too. And where should they join us, Ann?
You should join us on the Facebook group Living Felt Friends.
Yay! And hey, I want to tell you, so many of you know we have an online school. It's called feltingtutorials.com. We're having a back to school sale all month long, 20% off almost all our classes, and we do have new classes coming too. Those, of course, will have early bird specials for those. So get in the school. Registration is absolutely free, but we have some great classes, and you may as well add them to your cart now, because once you're in a class, it's yours to take as many times, as often times as you want. It will not expire, and it's 20% off all through September.
Ooh.
I know. That's like a big fat savings. Okay, y'all. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us today. We can't wait to see your Gnome pillows. And we'll wrap up this condensed video just as soon as we can, maybe after the holiday, maybe before.
Awesome.
All right. We'll see you next week, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.